Hey everyone, thank you for coming on through to Living To Do's review of The Chi Season 7, Episode 8 called A Bet is a Bet. Before I get started with the review, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, and I thank you in advance. Okay, let's talk about it. First scene, we see Darnell. He's taken Damien to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting. Of course, Darnell doesn't trust him, so he's going to go in the building with them. And we find out that Damien is living with Emmett. Well, at the meeting, Damien meets a girl, and that girl is played by Karrueche Tran. After the meeting, the two hook up in the bathroom and have sex. Isn't she a little too old for him? While they are having intimate relations, Darnell is walking around and he finds a meeting for grieving partners. So he sits in on the meeting. And the lady that heads the meeting is played by Wendy Raquel Robinson. You remember her from the TV show The Game. After the meeting, Wendy speaks to Darnell. She finds out that his partner is still alive, but dying of cancer. She informs him that there is a meeting that meets every Wednesday that have terminally ill partners. So I'm sure Darnell's going to find himself in that meeting. She also tells him that a terminally ill diagnosis is not always the final word. She tells him that God has the final word. I sure hope so for Jada's sake. Side note, don't you think Darnell and Damien look like real father and son? After Damien did what he did, he goes looking for his dad. And he finds him at this meeting. And he sees on the door of the meeting grieving partners. In the car, they get back into their truck, and Damien asked, "Why were you in a grieving partners meeting?" Darnell tells him that Jada's dying. Darnell gets emotional, and I just want to say the acting that we have seen from the character, or from the guy that plays Darnell, has been great. I love his emotion. I love the way he spoke to the character that plays Wendy Raquel Robinson. I love how he was just being a regular human being, and I really like that side of Darnell. I like his fun side, but I like his serious side too. Oh, so guess who's back? Kenya's back. She's meeting with her dad. Her and her son are back they were out of state living with her grandmother. And she's back, and she's inquiring to her dad, why are so many of your the female black parishioners leaving your church? And he tells her that he is seeing a white woman, Sarah. So that's why they're fleeing. It's funny, these church members, they got these preachers lying to them. They got a pass, they're sleeping around, but don't let it be a white person. That's when they'll get up and leave. After she talks to her dad, she goes into an office, Papa's office, and she talks to him. And she invites him over to her mom's house for dinner. At dinner, there's Kenya's mother, Carolyn, and her grandmother. Her grandmother is played by Phylicia Rashad. Her character name is Renee. Kenya invited her dad as well, which was odd. The mom kind of had a problem with it. Grandmother was happy to see him. She gave him a hug anyway. Renee brings up Pastor Z's infidelity with the white girl, Sarah. She thinks it's a bad idea. He's ruining his life doing this. She brings up Emmett Till. And we all know he was killed, beaten for smiling at a white woman, I think back in the 60s or the 50s. He was beaten really bad, really bad. And I think he was only 14 just for smiling at someone. And his mother allowed an open casket at his funeral to show everybody what was done to her son. And that's real powerful. So I think Renee is trying to suggest, put that in the back of your mind. That's not a good look for you. It can ruin you. But Kenya and Papa don't seem to have a problem with it. And it was talked about at the table that Kenya's mother, Carolyn, had an affair. She cheated on her husband with Jake. And I don't think Papa knew that. I think that was news to him. Papa later has his podcast, and in his podcast, he brings up the subject of Pastor Z hooking up with the white woman. So I think this is going to be further conversation in the Chi. Always a hot button topic in the black community. So Jamal's alive. He's at home with his bandages, and Dom is taking good care of him. And he reflects on his life about having a legacy, and he wants to have a child. But he didn't know that Dom doesn't want kids. So I want to see where they go with that. I know she doesn't want to mess up his body. I wonder also, would they consider having his sister Lene carry that baby? That would be interesting. Victor takes Tiff out on a date. He takes her to a concert to hear DJ Chicago Kid. Never heard of him, but they played his music in the episode, and I really like it. I'm gonna look him up and listen to some more. Really good R&B. Tiff and Victor are enjoying the music. They're standing there, and he's standing behind her, and they're swaying to the music. It was really nice. It was a really beautiful scene. Later, he takes her home. He walks her to the door. She allows him inside the foyer, and he hugs her. They had a kiss. A really sweet kiss. Upstairs, overlooking all the goings on, is Alicia. I guess she approves because last episode she didn't mind Tiff having some male attention coming from Victor. Sean and Victor talk about Tiff later. Sean advises Victor to speak to Emmett about his feelings for Tiff because he was once married to her and is his baby mama. And that didn't even cross Victor's mind, which I thought was interesting. Also, Shad tells Victor Reg is trouble and is in trouble. Well, he just says he's trouble. He didn't tell him everything that's going on with Alicia. One thing that we did find out is Shad asked Victor to stay on his couch, to move back in. So he'll be living there. Victor had no problem. Victor's a good friend. So Victor goes to Emmett's house and tells Emmett about the kiss. Victor says, he doesn't know if they're boyfriend. In fact, he says they're not boyfriend or girlfriend, but they might show up at places together, and he just wants, to give Emmett a heads up. Emmett appears to be okay with it, especially in Victor's face, but in the scene he had his back turned, and it looked like he might feel a certain type of way. Could he possibly still have feelings for Tiff? It was just a weird thing to witness. Can't wait to hear Emmett verbalize his feelings about the situation between Victor and Tiff. There was a brief scene with Professor Bradley, which I found out his first name is Elijah. Elijah is speaking up for Picardy, I guess at a school with somebody there. I don't know if she's a dean or somebody in charge. And she lets Elijah know that Picardy's grades are not where they need to be. And she knows that he has a connection with Alicia, who gave him the grant, and there's a connection with his wife, the judge. They're going to be bending the rules for Picardy. I don't know how much bending they're going to be doing for this guy. He better produce something. Detective Toussaint meets up with Nuck. I want to know Nuck's real name. She wants him to befriend Reg, which is wild to me. What is crazy that Detective Toussaint is investigating the murder of Rob, which she thinks Reg has committed, and all along she's sitting right next to the murderer. Nuck talks to Pastor Z about working with cops. And Pastor Z tells him that he thinks it's a good idea to stay connected to the cops because the cops are good to gangsters. They're better to gangsters than they are to civilians. It's a crazy world we live in. So Damien is hanging out at his Spades partner's house, and Reg is there. And Reg is testing Damien on his sports knowledge, and he wants to place a bet with him. Damien is really not trying to bet. He will bet a gentleman's bet, which is a bet with no money involved, but he can't help himself. Reg keeps pressing him. They're betting on information about Michael Jordan, his basketball stats, and he's getting a lot right. And then they place the bet, and he asked him a question about, I don't know, some stats of some sort. Damien got something wrong. He named a lot of the stuff that Michael Jordan did, which was correct, but one of the things was wrong. And so now Reg has deemed him as losing a bet, and he wants his money the next day. The bet was $5,000. If he doesn't get the money, Reg is going to beat him up. Damien goes out looking for money. While at work at Smokey's, he hits up Dom for $1,000, and Dom gave it to him. Then he goes to Bakari's house and he asked him for $1,000. And he also tells him that Jade is dying. That's where he's going to try to get some money. Bakari gave him 1,000. So he goes to Jade and he asked her for money. What I thought was crazy is he's at her house. She's in her bedroom. He walks right in. I don't even see him knocking or anything. He comes right on in and, he's talking to her about the gambling, and he doesn't want to disappoint his dad and brother, but he owes money. Jada goes into, I guess, her closet, and she has a box with a couple $1,000s in it, and she gives him $2,000. And he also tells her that he's sorry about what she's going through. Another thing interesting I found, people in the hood, you think they have no money. They got enough money to give people a stag? Okay, I could see Bakari. Dom, you have it like that? You work at a fast food restaurant. And Jada, I'm sure she has a little money saved up, but you got enough just to hand that on over to somebody? Poor Jada. After Darnell came home from the support group, they get to talking. Jada doesn't think she will be alive long enough to see her new grandchild that Keisha is carrying, which is incredibly sad to me because Keisha is very pregnant. She looks like she's going to give birth any day. So how quickly is this cancer taking over and taking Jada's life? So with only $4,000 in hand, Damien meets back up with Reg to give him the money. Reg takes the money, he counts it, and he sees he's short. So he proceeds to beat the crap out of Damien. All bloodied up, Damien goes back to where he lays his head, which is Emmett's house. Emmett is shocked to see his face. He wants to know who did this. Damien told him that it was Reg, which shocks Emmett because Emmett thought Reg was dead. Damien told him where to find Reg, which is at Jake's house. Emmett goes over there, goes right up to Reg, and proceeds to start hitting him, beating him. Well, Reg defends himself, and I guess he got a gun on him at all times, and he shoots Emmett in the chest. And that's how the episode ended. I like this episode, though. There was, gunfire. I did like the episode. Also, we see Emmett, after he was shot, he was still moving, which I think is a good sign. But what's going to happen in next episode? Also, some questions I had, like, what will Victor do? Will Victor kill his real brother because of a real friend? That will be interesting. This is really going to hurt Keisha. She is late in her pregnancy, taking care of his kids, her kid. What is going to happen? Is this going to send her into labor? You could see how gambling hurts people around you. And does Damien deserve all this unconditional support? Also, I'm thinking, who's going to play Damien's mother? It just seems like she's going to make an appearance with all the new faces that we have, especially in this episode. We had Wendy Raquel Robinson, Karrueche Tran, and Phylicia Rashad. So I'm just interested who's going to play Damien's mother. I liked the episode. Thanks for staying with me to the end. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, and I thank you in advance, but I gotta go because I got living to do. Bye.